Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Ram 1500, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster diode wiring kit. But before we get into that, why don't we take a minute, just kind of talk about the main parts we're going to need to flat tow our Ram down the road in the first place. Then we'll kind of jump in and start talking about the diodes themselves. There's going to be a total of 5 main components that you're going to need. The first one will be your base plate, and that's going to provide us with a solid attachment point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. Tow bar is going to be the second component, and that's going to be the physical link that actually connects the front of your vehicle to the back of your motorhome. Third main component will be your safety cables, and these are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. They're going to keep everything paired together. The fourth main part will be your tow bar wiring. And what this will do is transfer the lighting functions from the back of your coach to the back of your pickup, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the fifth main part will be a supplemental braking system. And what this is going to do is apply the brakes in your Ram whenever you hit the brakes in your RV, helping to bring you to a more predictable and complete stop. This is a really good example on how the tow bar wiring is actually going to work. So we have the left turn signal going on our motorhome, and it's transferring it back here to our Ram's tail light. It's going to work the same way for the right turn signal, your brakes, and of course your tail lights. So kind of got all your bases covered there. And you know, when it comes to picking out a way to make something like this happen, in my opinion, the diode wiring is definitely the way to go, because once you have it installed, it looks completely factory, right? You're not even gonna know it's there. And it just makes the process of setting everything up much easier. Essentially, all you're gonna have to do is plug in a wiring connector at the front of your truck to the back of your motorhome. So really straightforward. And honestly, that beats a lot of the other options. For example, magnetic lighting. Those are lights that'll stick to the body of your vehicle, which not sure if Ram beds are aluminum. If that's the case, it wouldn't work really anyway. But aside from that, with that type, you're gonna have to run your wires up every time you want to flat tow, and then take it all off whenever you want to drive the truck around, and not to mention store all that stuff too. And as you know, when you're over the road, every little bit of storage that you can have extra definitely goes a long way. I mentioned how easy it is to set up. So whenever you have all your other components hooked up, in terms of getting the tow bar wiring to work, you're just going to have a wiring connector you plug right in there, and then into the back of your motorhome. And that's how all the lighting functions are going to get transferred. And I do want to take a minute to talk about what type of connector or cable that would be best for you, because there's several different kits available, and they're all pretty much the same, other than what type of cable it comes with. So for example, you know, a setup like this, if your tow bar does not have the channels along the side of it, you'd want to use a setup like this. Okay, this is the coiled cable. Since it's coiled, it keeps up off the ground, but then when you make a turn, it can stretch to give you that extra length that you need. So this one is really popular, 6-way round connector up front to a 7-way round here at the back, and a lot of people have that type of setup. If you, if you're wanting to use a 4-way round connector on the front of your vehicle, there's that kit available too. Honestly though, having the 6-way, that'll allow you to maybe add a charge line in the future or add something else in the future. So if you're gonna go through the trouble of doing it, my thought is just get the 6-way setup, right? But this is an option. And then if your tow bar has channels in it, which are along the side here, designed for cables to run through, there's a couple options you can use. One of them is just a straight cable. So this would run through the tow bar's channels, 7 to 6. And then there's also a hybrid one, which on this vehicle, probably not going to be used, but this one's really long, so it's straight to run through the channels, and then the part up here is coiled. So if you have a really long setup or a lot of distance between your towed vehicle and your motorhome, this is an option that I'd recommend. And then you have this one, which is kind of, you don't see too many, just a 4-way flat to a 4-way flat. So Like I said, really don't see too many of these, but it is something that you could use. And then there's ones that I like to call kind of the bare bones kit, right? It doesn't come with a cable or a connector for the vehicle side. It's really just your diodes, your bundle wire, and some little ins and outs. And you would use that kit in a situation where your tow bar comes with those other components. So some of the more premier type tow bars will have them included. All right, and so that would be the kit you'd want to buy, because you don't, if your tow bar already has it, there's no reason to have doubles of it. So it could save you, a little bit of energy there as far as that goes. Other than that, in my opinion, diodes are the best way to go. Being able to get your taillight functions to the back of your truck. It's just simple and reliable, so can't really ask for too much more. In terms of the installation, on this truck, it really wasn't too bad. The taillight pockets or openings are pretty big, so you got plenty of room to work with there. A lot of wire to work with, and the most time-consuming part for a lot of people, myself included, is actually routing the wire from the front to the back. But we'll show you how we did that, and you got quite a bit of space to work under there compared to a lot of other vehicles, so not too bad. If you'd like to see how that's done, though, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead, pull into the garage, and hook it up together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the front of our truck, and we need to mount up our wiring. Now, clearly we have the front bumper and everything removed, and we're doing this at the same time that we did our base plate. Just makes it a lot easier. So there's several different kits. If you have the kit with the 4-way flat, mount that up, and there's really nothing else to do up here. But a more common type kit is the one that has the 6-way round type connector. So if that's your case, you would simply hook up the wires to the back of your 6-way round connector. And so they're going to be labeled. TM is taillight, so the brown wire would go to it. GD for ground, so white wire. LT left turn is the yellow wire. And RT is right turn for the green wire. And so I'll just demonstrate how you would hook that up. You just back out the set screw. Try not to go all the way, because if it comes completely out, it's kind of tough to get back in. And then you take your wires, okay? And so I just grabbed a scrap piece so we could demonstrate this. You'd strip back the end, give that wire a twist, and then you'd simply just put it in the appropriate terminal. All right, so you put it in there and tighten the set screw down. Then from there, you'd simply mount this up, and you could put some sealer on the back of it to keep the terminals protected. But, once you have that done, then we can continue to route our wires towards the back of the truck like we did. And it's going to depend, too, how you want to do this depending on your braking system. So, for example, the Stay and Play Duo braking system, and amongst other ones, require to actually tap into this wiring. So if you have something like that, it may be better to run it up into the engine compartment where it's easier to do that. In our case, we don't need to. So I just kind of ran it straight along our frame rail towards the back there. And keep in mind when you're doing this, do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts as well. Use some of the zip ties to keep everything secured nice and tight. Underneath the truck now, here's where our wiring kind of runs along the frame. And then right here in this area, I kind of jammed it behind this heat shield just to keep it away from the exhaust as best I can. And it just continues to route back. And then right here in this area where we have some room to work, I think I'm going to ground the white wire. And so if you peel the wiring away, just the white wire, I think I'm going to go up in this area probably. It's good, clean sheet metal. That should work out pretty well. So I'm going to cut our wire, and you want to hold on to the other end of the white wire because we will be using it later. And I will strip this back. We'll take the ring terminal, slide that over the bare end, crimp it down, and I'll take the provided self-tapping screw and get it secured. Trying to run that self-tapping screw into this sheet metal here is very, very difficult. It almost felt like it's hardened steel. So this metal feels a little different. If you can get it in through there, great. If not, we'll just have to figure something out. So we'll go ahead and give it a try. The self-tapping screw really isn't sharp enough to punch through this metal here, so I actually just pre-drilled the hole using a drill bit, just a little bit smaller than our self-tapping screw, so that should really help out. And now get that secured, and that'll complete our ground wire. And what I'll do is continue to route these wires towards the back, and once I have that done, I'll show you the path that I took to get there. Got the rest of our wires ran, so I just followed this plastic piece along her frame here and just ran it along through here. It kind of gets hidden up along the side of the gas tank a little bit, but up through that opening. And then essentially it's just going to continue along up and over our rear axle here. And then right here, I actually ran it over our frame rail. So it kind of runs along through the side here. I just did that to keep it away from our exhaust. And here's where it comes down. So what I did, that extra piece of white wire that we had, all right, I just taped it to the yellow and brown. So I peeled the green off, obviously. Taped it to the yellow and brown. And then the green separates from the yellow and brown, and the green wire runs over to the passenger side. And that white wire, that extra one, goes along over there with it. So I just ran those through our trailer hitch tube here. So it runs all the way through. You just push them right through. All the way along, and here's where they come out. Here's our green and white wire, and we're just going to let these wires hang for now. We need to go up top and figure out a way to get these into the taillight pocket. That way we can hook up our wiring. So up top here, if you lower your tailgate, we can get to the fasteners holding in our taillights. So we're going to have two Torx bit screws. That is a T25. So we'll pull them out. And then we're going to have two push pin fasteners. So you can use a flathead screwdriver or even a trim tool, kind of like this, whatever you got. Gonna pry underneath the head of it, and then you can get behind the base and pop that one out. For the one up here, you are going to have to kind of hold your tailgate up a little ways, or you might be able to just put a little bit of pressure on it like that, just to give you a little bit of extra space to get your tool in there and be able to pop it out. So the problem is, this is hitting that keeper, so I am going to have to go up just a little bit more. So with those fasteners out, you can take your tail light and pull it out. And we're going to disconnect it. I have a red tab here, and be careful with these. Sometimes they get brittle, but you're going to push out on that and then down on that black tab. Sometimes it helps too if you kind of push that connector in harder, and while you're pushing it in, push down on that tab to disconnect it, and then we can set our light off to the side. So the wiring here is going to be connected to some fasteners that keep it secured. I'm just going to take my tool and pop those out. just so we have a little more wire to work with. And since we are going to have to tap into the wires, I'm going to carefully remove this tape. That way we can work with everything. So I peeled the tape back and I tested the wires. And what we're looking for is our tail light signal and our brake light signal. So it turns out these two wires here are going to be them. The white wire with the orange stripe, that's going to be for our tail light signal. And the white wire with the green stripe, that's going to be for our stop and turn. So we'll go ahead and cut these. And then we're going to strip the ends back. About like that. Give the wires a twist. Then you're going to take one of the blue terminals, put that over the bare end of the wire, and crimp it down. Like that. And I'm going to do that same thing for the 3 remaining ends here. There's all 4 of our ends. And now I'm going to take 2 diodes and let's stick them together. Like that. And what you're going to do is take the side of the factory wiring that is closest to the connector plug. So these ends, that'll go on the diode that has a single terminal labeled out. And then on the other side, you just go color for color. So this top one has the green wire on it, so I'll put the white and green to it. Bottom one has the white and orange, so I'll put it there. And then I can reach in down through the opening here, grab the wires, the new wires that we ran up, and get them hooked up. So I pulled our wires up and just cut them to length. You know, we didn't need 3 extra foot. The yellow wire I stripped back, crimped on a blue terminal. The white and brown, what you're going to do is strip them back and then twist the bare ends together and get them nice and tight. And I'll ensure we have a good connection. And then you're going to take the yellow butt connector, right? This one's a little bit bigger. Slide that over the bare end and get it crimped down. And once that is complete, we can hook these up to our diodes. So the white and green factory wire will be our stop and turn. So we'll put our new yellow wire to it. Click that in. And the other one is the orange and white factories, our tail light. So we'll plug that one into there. I went ahead and taped up our wiring real good. And now we can secure the diodes. So I'm going to peel that off and I'm going to stick them to here, the surface. Make sure it's clean. I wiped it down with some rubbing alcohol, let it dry. And I'll go ahead and push it onto that. Make sure it has proper adhesion. And from here, take our tail light, simply just plug that back in. And we'll reinstall this the opposite way that we removed it. Over here on the passenger side, we essentially did the same exact thing. Pulled our tail light out and hooked it up more or less the same way. The factory wire colors are going to be the same, white and green and white and orange. And really the only difference is the color of our new wires. So we have a white one and the green one. The new white wire will go to the diode with the white and orange, since that's our taillight signal. And the new green wire, that'll go to the diode that has the white and green wire, since that's controlling our stop and turn. But secured it all the same way. Everything else, no real differences here. And with that done, we'll plug our tail light in and get it reinstalled. With all that done, it's a good idea to test your wiring to make sure that it's working properly. So up front here, I plugged into a test box. You can also use your motorhome, but keep in mind, if your motorhome has any issues, it could mislead you into thinking It's on the vehicle side, but we'll turn on our taillights, our left turn signal, our right turn signal, and our brake lights. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster diode wiring kit on our 2022 Ram 1500.